Before our last song, we just want to thank you so much for listening to us tonight, and a special thank you to Berea City Schools, the Education Foundation, and to Grindstone Principal Mrs. Grimm for supporting not only music education, but ukulele education. We certainly have a joy, I have a joy teaching it, and I think the students share in that. We are going to finish with Johnny Be Good.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Anna Chapman. I have the privilege of serving as the president of the Berea Board of Education. I'd like to introduce our other board members who are here this evening. Over here we have our vice president, Corey Ferris, and Jeff Duke, and then Steve Dockman and Neil Postal. Tonight is our 4th annual State of the Schools event. We started it in 2017 as a way of informing our communities where the district is and what we can expect in the future. This year, we're very fortunate that we're going to see the opening of 2 beautiful brand new schools. Hard to believe that's happening very soon. And we also have new leadership. It was evident during our interview with our superintendent, Tracy Wheeler, that she was who we were looking for and who the district needed. Her energy, innovative ideas, the importance she places on relationships, and her experience as a teacher at all levels, a high school principal and a central office administrator, told us that she was the person to lead us into the many exciting things we have to look forward to. In the only 6 months that she's been here, she's taken the proverbial bull by the horn and began to make much needed positive changes. She's been everywhere and started building bridges where there may not have been one. She reminds me of the Energizer Bunny because she is always on the go. You've probably seen her in many places around the district, at concerts, at athletic events, at other special events, and she is in our school buildings on a daily basis. The board is very pleased with her so far, and we know that you will be impressed with her presentation this evening. Thank you for coming, and now our superintendent, Mrs. Tracy Wheeler.
Thank you. Those of you in the back, if you want to come up and fill in seats, you're more than welcome to do so. Hopefully you'll be able to see what's going on up here without much difficulty. All right, so I think it's important for me to start off to give you a little information about me, and I know Anna shared some of that in the opening. I will say the last time I was in here, I was
being drilled by a 12th grader with questions. So this is the room that I was in to do my community presentation, my community interview, filled with people. So it kind of brings back some really good memories because it landed me where I am today. So a little bit about me. A couple pictures of my family. I live in a world of giants. I have my shortest son is 6'5". I have a 6'6" and my husband's 6'7". So everywhere I go, I'm pretty short. But it's kind of neat. I live in a world of men in my family alone. So my 2 boys, my mom and dad have 8 grandchildren. They're all boys, and we have a great-grandchild, and he's a boy also. And my dog is a boy. So I don't know how I do it, but I do. As Anna said a little bit, my experiences in education are pretty vast. I'm an Ohio girl, born and raised. When I graduated from Ohio State University, I took off and I moved to Virginia for a couple years, taught elementary school in Virginia. That's where I started. Left Virginia to come back home, spent some years in Mayfield City Schools teaching middle school. And people who say you're crazy for teaching middle school, I loved it. Loved every minute of it. It was kind of my place. So I know Nick and Kelly and everybody else who's here today are going, giving the kudos for middle school. I left middle school education and got my master's in curriculum instruction and started working with gifted kids. Spent the next couple years working with gifted education, and that's what took me to Brunswick. My first job in Brunswick, I was hired as the gifted education coordinator. From there, then I spent the next 14 years as the assistant principal at the high school. I was never a high school teacher, went to do high school administration as assistant principal, did that for 4 years, became the high school principal. Large high school, similar to what we have here, about 2,500 kids. After spending my time at the high school, then moved to central office and spent the following 6 years as the assistant superintendent for the Brunswick City Schools. And then here we are today. Before I get really going, I also want to, all of my administrators in the room, if you would, please stand up. Come on, stand up, don't be shy. Yes. I want to thank them for being here. Most of them have heard this presentation already, but they're here again tonight to show support. When Anna talks about me coming into the district and some of the change that we've already seen, it's not about me. It's about all of those folks sitting around you and our teaching staff, and our parent support and our community support that we have in the district. So it's not a one-person job for sure, and I don't know what I would do without these guys to help me along the way. Also, I think it's important to show you some of the new faces in the district. So one of the things that I was so fortunate to do when I was hired as a superintendent is that I was allowed to choose the assistant superintendent who was going to be my sidekick. And Mike Draves is my sidekick. He's sitting right here. I don't know what I would do without Mike. Mike is a Berea grad. Mike taught in the Berea City School District. He was an administrative intern, and then I stole him from Berea and took him to Brunswick with me, and he was the assistant principal with me in Brunswick while I was the high school principal. Later took over as the high school principal and then spent a year in central office. So we've been together for 11 years now. This is our 11th year together. Mike is one of the most creative, innovative people I know. Mike is the epitome of what an instructional leader should be. He works very closely with our building principals and building that capacity in our building principals to be instructional leaders. So Mike is a true asset for me in the district. Vicki Turner. Vicki comes to us also new this year as our Director of Technology, and she's a gem. The bonus that we get with Vicki is Vicki knows teaching and learning. So Vicki's not just, she comes in and she can work on a computer or she can do things behind the scenes. Vicki knows teaching and learning. And to have a director of technology who can tie what we're doing with technology to the importance of what we need to do for our kids is just an unbelievable thing for us. So Vicki's new with us this year. Mark Smithberger took over as the high school principal. Mark is the 2019 OASSA Principal of the Year. So he was at Strongsville High School. He decided to come and join us here. True instructional leader. He knows his stuff. He is, again, good visionary. He is somebody who's always going to do what's best for kids. And with the opening of the new high school, again, the right person in the right place. Then we have Kelly too. I was in on Kelly's interviews over the summer, and it's kind of funny when Nick and I were doing our interviews with Kelly. Kelly's middle school through and through. I mean, she's passionate about kids. She's passionate about middle level education. So when we offered Kelly the position, again, just a true asset to our team of the existing team that we already have. So I just think it's important for you to know, as Anna said, there are a lot of us who are leading that charge and trying to do what's best for the district. So I want to start tonight a little bit just about the timeline on facilities, and I know there's some questions, and we just wanted to do some clarification. I want to show you some updates on the building too. So we are right now looking at a target date. So I'll start with the elementary building first. So when we're talking about Brook Park Elementary School, we're talking about a target date of March 24th for that building to be completed. We may not take occupancy on March 24th because we also have the auditorium that's being renovated. So we have to wait and make sure that everything is going okay with getting all the safety, security things hooked up from the auditorium to the new building. But the new building should be done by March 24th. That's the date that they're giving us right now. Questions were, and people have asked us, well, when are the kids moving in? Kids do not move into that new building until the start of the school year. So even though the building's going to be done in March, we're not transitioning kids into the building until the start of the school year. As far as Berea Mid-Park High School, there's actually 3 phases to Berea Mid-Park High School. So the first phase is we will be getting August 1 completion, and again, we haven't had any change to our timeline for that. We'll get the administrative part of the building, which is, if you're looking right behind the building right now, you can kind of see it from Bagley Road where there's a set of stairs that are starting to be, finished up into there. That's the administrative wing of the building. That whole part of the building will be done, and then everything to the right of it are academic classes. So those rooms, all of that are slated on schedule to be done and ready for us to take occupancy on August 1st. And then the kids will start school at the normal time. Phase 2 of that building then is December of 2020. That is, if you're looking at the building, to the far left of it, closest to Finney Stadium, those are your orchestra, choir, band rooms, auditorium, competition gym, auxiliary gym, and then there are some classrooms on the outside wall of that. So right now, they have told us that that part of the building we will not be able to move into until December of 2020. There is a possibility that we could move into part of the building, which would be the competition gym and the auxiliary gym, a little earlier. What does that do for us? If we can't get that space of the building, our kids will still occupy the old high school until we're able to move in there. That means we can't begin to abate the old building, and we can't get to demo the building until the kids out. They won't do any abatement to the building until our students are out of that building. So we're waiting on that timeline. The one thing that won't change with this December date is we will not have occupancy of our band room, band choir orchestra room, or our auditorium until mid-December. We know that for sure. Then the other phase of that then too is then when the Berea Mid-Park High School right now, when it is demolished, then we have to do all of the parking. That's all going to be in front of the building. So one of the things that people are going to have to kind of deal with for a little while is the lack of parking. So we're working on some different things with that. We're working on what we're going to do with the marching band, because the marching band will lose their practice spot up there. But we are working on the alternatives of where we're going to put the kids and where we're going to park. So let's do a little Brook Park Elementary School. And this is a video that we literally just took 2 days ago. I think it was 2 days ago. As you can see, the sidewalks are in. They have temporary driveways, parking in there. The rest of that won't be done until late spring. They'll put the top coat on the driveways and on the parking spots, but you can kind of see what's going on there. It is a large building. So large building, we're anticipating right now that the enrollment of that building is going to be about 1,000 students. Now that's 1,000 students because we also have our preschool kids going in there. So we have preschool, then K-4 through there. Again, there's the completion date, and just gives you an idea of the classrooms and what we're looking at. It's an amazing building. It's going to be an amazing learning space for our students. This gives you an idea of what they're doing right now. They have, this actually is on the right hand side up here. This is actually an art room. And you're going to see in these rooms all of these big windows. It is so bright in this building. You walk in, and we were in there the other day, and I think we asked them to kind of dim the lights just to see how much light was in the building without the lights on. And it's amazing the amount of natural light that's going to come into all of these rooms. So they're in the process right now, putting in the cabinetry and things like that. These are sinks over here, ample room for storage. This area on the left-hand side, in every one of it's a very non-traditional building, right? We know that teaching and learning has changed significantly. How we have to prepare our kids for the future needs to change a little. So this actually, I'm going to call it, it's really not, it's a hallway. It doesn't look like your typical hallway in an elementary or any kind of a school building, but this is kind of a hallway. These are our collaborative areas. I'm going to show you some more pictures of that too. This is a stage in each of, so there's a K1 wing, there's a 1-2, and then there's a 3-4. And on each of the wings, on each side of these collaborative spaces, there is a stage. The stage will be hooked up with technology so that kids can do presentations, they can work collaboratively, whatever it is that they need to do. So that's kind of a neat feature for our elementary kids. This also gives you an idea of the learning spaces. All of the classrooms in this building have garage doors that open into the building. They don't open outside the building, they open into the building. So if you see here, they've got the flooring that's going in, they're working on the lighting, the ceilings. Each of these rooms, that big space right there is actually a garage door. It's actually a garage door. So there's two ways in and out of the room. They can either go in through the garage door, or they can go, if the garage door is open, or they can use a door to a room. So each room has kind of two entrances in and out. And then this big, large space in here is a collaborative area. Collaboration for kids to be able to get out in the middle. The way that this building is designed, the rooms are really big and they're really spacious. They're amazing. But what this allows teachers to do is actually kind of extend their classroom out into this learning area. So in an area of a hallway, like in this section here, and I can't remember what grade this is. This may be kindergarten. I think it is. So there are both sides of this collaborative space will be all kindergarten rooms. So if teachers want to pull small groups, or they want to extend their learning space outside of this garage door, they're able to do that. So the rooms actually extend out further than where they are. Really neat thing that we're doing in this area is the furniture. And you wouldn't think furniture is a really big deal, but furniture is a really big deal. We really worked on this. It's a lot about space, flexibility, giving kids option. So in this area, when we're done and the furniture is going to be in here, you're going to see bean bags. You're going to see, we've got little like knee pad carts where kids can sit on pads. We have wobble stools. We have tables. We have high tables. We have low tables. We have soft seating, like really soft, nice, comfortable furniture for the kids to sit on. You're also going to see in these areas, what looks a little different in this building is the typical media center where it was fully loaded with books. We're going to push a lot of books out into these centers. So there'll be book carts out there for kids to grab books and take books as they want them. The media center is not as big as you would see as a normal media center would be, because we're pushing them out for the kids to have better access to them in these collaborative areas. This gives you an idea of what the gymnasium looks like. It's a really large gymnasium, so it's not typical of this size. It is a good sized gymnasium. It's going to be, the court is going to look amazing. There's 6 hoops in there. The one thing that we are going to do with the gym space, this building does not have a cafeteria. So this is the cafeteria for Grindstone. This building does not have a designated cafeteria for kids to sit and eat. So when the building was originally designed, it was designed with the idea that all students would get their lunches and then eat in the collaborative areas, okay? Which we had to change that design and that concept just a little bit. Our nutrition services coordinator, she wasn't real comfortable with kindergarten, first and second graders walking through the hallways, carrying their lunch trays from the cafeteria down to a collaborative area. For example, we have about 160 kindergartners. Okay, so with 160 kindergartners in the collaborative areas that you saw earlier where we're going to put in all the seating, at max we could only get about 80 seats in that area, which means all of our kindergartners can't eat at the same time. And if kids are eating in that area, what happens to garage doors? They got to go down, right? So it kind of defeats the purpose of having garage doors. So we are in an area, and it won't be much because the gym is a really good size. We are going to put in we are going to have tables in there so that our kindergarten, first, and second graders can actually have a table that they can sit down and they can eat at. This building has 2 kitchens. There's one on the bottom floor, and then there's one on the second floor of the other wing where our 3rd and 4th graders are. So 3rd and 4th, they'll cook the food downstairs, they'll put it on an elevator, send it upstairs. There's going to be a serving area upstairs where the kids can get their lunch, and then our 3rd and 4th graders will eat their lunches in their collaborative areas. We think they're a little more, obviously, a little more responsible and mature to be able to do that. This gives you an idea. The picture on the left, this is the main kitchen that's on the 1st floor. Again, you know, everything's installed. They're getting ready to put some finishing touches on in there. Again, they're going to cook the food down here. There's an elevator back there that they'll send it up to the 2nd floor for the kitchen up there. We have 2 music rooms in the building. There's 2, and you can't really see much of a room. But this music room then, there's a hallway here that you're going to see that's going to connect. You walk down the hallway, and it goes right out onto the stage of what now is Ford Auditorium, but we are going to name it Memorial Auditorium after Memorial Elementary School. So you notice it's an older building, and just not too long ago, all the seats have been taken out, all the carpeting has been taken out, the roof needed to be repaired, there were major repairs that need to be made to the roof. The board approved about $650,000 for us to put into that auditorium because there was a lot of work to do to get it to the point to where we needed it to be. We've got this beautiful new building that's opening, and we felt very strongly that this also needed to be part of the newness of walking into that building, and that we couldn't ignore it, and that we had to get it ready for when that building opens. It's going to seat about 700 people. To have an auditorium in an elementary school is truly unique. So planning on this, so right now they're done with all of the work that they had to do on the inside. They're going to start pretty soon, painting. There's going to be new carpeting in there. Tore the seats out. We have brand new seats coming. Seats take about 6 months. So when the building is ready to be opened, we may not have the rest of this done, and that's okay, because we just have to make sure that everything is ready for safety, but we probably won't be able to use it for probably 6 to 8 months. Ordered a new curtains, so it's going to be a really beautiful place when it's done, and again, connected right to our music room so that our kids can go right out there. I know that we're going to talk with the other elementary buildings in the district so that they're able to use it for performances and things like that, so it'll be a neat feature of the building. So the high school, again, this is some new footage that we just took. This actually right here is the orchestra room. It's amazing. So that whole wing of the building where the orchestra room is, the choir room, and the band room, and look at the high ceilings, the windows, again, all the natural lighting, again, is just amazing. So that building, again, will be ready by August 1. So we got about 20-some days to get moved into that building. So it's going to be a very, very busy summer this summer. in the Berea City School District. So we're anticipating right now enrollment of about 1,800 kids. And again, the uniqueness of the building, we've spent a lot of time going through evaluating, reevaluating rooms, what rooms are assigned for, and there are a lot of really unique pieces to this building that are going to be exciting for our kids. Again, this, non-traditional, right? This is a hallway. The one thing that you don't see in this hallway is you don't see lockers in this hallway. The other thing that you're not going to see in this hallway is it's going to be very, very similar to the elementary school, is that this whole area in here, again, is a collaborative area where you'll see all kinds of different seating and furniture. So we've got soft seating. Again, we're going to push different things into this area that might not be in some other areas. We're asking for like large whiteboards, mobile whiteboards, so kids can use whiteboards, and if they want to work together on something, they can move them around in those areas and they can work on them. Each of these rooms here also comes with a garage door, same kind of concept that there is in the elementary building. We have multiple rooms throughout the building that have divider walls in between those classes, so that's going to provide us with some unique opportunities for class offerings and, say a humanities course where we have our language arts teachers working very closely with our social studies teachers or something like that, where we can open up the wall, we can expand it so kids have more ability to work together. What we have to remember is it's hard to build a building we're not building a building for today. We're not putting furniture in it for furniture of what we want or need today. We really have to build this building and go with the idea, concept of what this building could be like in 40 years, because that building's going to be there for a long time. So that's really hard to do. We toured buildings with another building project we run in another district, and buildings that have been there for 5 and 6 years are already kind of outdated because of how we need to move along in the spaces that we need to have for our kids. So an amazing feature of this building is going to be this auditorium. So it doesn't look like much now, but it's going to, so bear with it. This is a video being taken from the stage that looks out, and you're going to see that there's 2 levels of seating. So they're already getting the structures in place, the beams in place up there to go ahead and, which soon they're going to start the seating up. Well, not soon, but they will once they get painted and stuff. That's what they're doing for the seating. Again, this is attached right directly to the band, choir, and orchestra rooms so that they can come in the back. There's going to be a large door out here, I think. Well, doors out here, access out here. But they're going to have all this access from the band, choir, and orchestra room so that when they do performances, it's just seamless to move from one space right into the other. But again, an amazing feature for this new building, something we're really going to be proud of. It's going to seat about 800 people. It's big, but it's cozy, which makes it really kind of neat. The media center in the building looks a little different than a typical media center. It's not a room, it's an open space. So you're going to see when it's ready, when we get into the building, it's just another part of kind of like the open space, the open hallway space, whatever it is that you want to call it. In the building, it's going to look a little different. Not your typical media center. We're also going to be putting a maker space in there where kids can go in and work on different things, so that's going to be a big part of that. Dining in the building is also different. There is no cafeteria in the high school. So when the building was designed, or Mike and I were told when the building was designed, again, it was the concept around if you've been in a high school and you're in a large high school, a cafeteria space takes up a lot of square footage. And it's not used very much. It sits empty most of the day. So their idea was, let's take that square footage that we would use for a typical cafeteria and let's put it into the collaborative spaces. So all the extra space that you're going to see around the building that is really open collaborative areas for kids is there because we did not put in a cafeteria in the building. So what this has now is there are 3 different cafeterias, dining places in the building. The way it's going to look is the bottom floor, there's kind of like it's your hot meal. It's the main kitchen where kids, if they want to get a hot lunch, they go there. Second floor is kind of a made to order, so subs, sandwiches, salads, whatever the case may be. And then the third floor is kind of like a Starbucks, grab and go sandwiches, yogurts, smoothies, things like that. We are actually meeting this week to start having more specific conversations with the high school about what lunch is going to look like. Don't know the name for sure, but I'll tell you what kind of the theme we're going on. It's going to be kind of what we call a lunch and learn hour. So if any of you have high schoolers or have had high schoolers, you know that some kids go to high school, especially at a big high school, and they might eat lunch as early as 10:30 in the morning, right? You're shaking your heads. There are other kids then who may not eat lunch till 12:30 in the afternoon. I heard that as a high school principal all the time. Like, my kid has to eat at 10:30. I know, somebody else has to eat at 12:30. So a lunch and learn would be an idea of we do 1 hour in the middle of the day where all students are off. And then during that hour, half the kids will have a lunchtime, other kids will be on a learn time. And then they're gonna flip-flop it. So what do we do during that time? Well, that's what we're going to work on with the high school administration and with our high school teachers. But some of the ideas, which again, gives our kids so many opportunities, is, for example, we might do our clubs during that time, right? So if our Pride kids who were here tonight, greeting you guys when you came in, usually those kids meet on their own time after school. Well, if we do it during lunch and learn, Pride kids can have their meeting during the day. It's a great way for more kids to be able to get involved because we know a lot of kids after school are either involved in athletics, they have to get home because they don't have transportation, they work, all those kinds of things. Well, if we do our clubs and all those different kinds of things during the day, kids have more opportunities to be able to participate. But we're looking at a time too where kids can go and get intervention. You know, so if you have an algebra teacher, during a normal course of a day, an algebra teacher's off one period during the day, right? So I may have a study hall during that time, so I could go and work with my algebra teacher, but the rest of the class or her other classes may not, right? So during lunch and learn, teacher could say, hey, we've got an algebra test tomorrow. Any algebra student who wants to come in my room and study for that algebra test, come on in during your lunch and learn on Thursday, right? So there are a lot of possibilities and a lot of opportunities for that time, and we're really looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting. This gives you an idea of, there are banks of lockers. Again, the way the building is designed, this is at a hallway at the end of the building. This gives you an idea right here. These are actually little learning cubbies. There'll be glass fronts on them. Different kind of seating in there for kids, again, if they want to go in, they want to work on something, just gives them the space to go. And this will give you I thought it went down the hallway. But there are lockers. There will not be a locker for every student. And we know that most kids don't use their lockers. So when the building was designed, it was designed with the idea knowing that not all high school kids use a locker. So why put them all in and why take up all the space? So there will be a method to our madness about how kids can get a locker if they need to use it. All right, a couple more pictures here. To be a science teacher, these are the new chem labs. It just gives you an idea of what they're going to look like. They share a room, so there's like a lecture place, and then there's also a lab place on this side. Teachers will be able to share those spaces. This picture on the right, this video on the right, is one of our life skills rooms. So some of our students with special needs, they can go in here, they can cook, there'll be a stove in here, there'll be a microwave in here, there'll be a washer and dryer in there. So it's to give them some practice on life skills. And we actually have 2 rooms that look like that right now in the building. So the competition gym, this is actually a picture that's taken, I'll show you right here. If you see here on the rendering, this is actually there's a classroom right here, and then this is an overhang that comes out. We say it's like the loge seating in the competition gym. But it gives you an idea of what the competition gym is going to look like. It's going to seat about 1,800 people. well, it says 1,500 there, 1,500. The front of it, this is in the back of the building. This is going to be the entrance in the back of the building. This is really kind of a neat feature right here. There's going to be a concession stand. There's going to be a spirit shop. This whole area right here, and then this area is glass. So if people want during a game, no food in the gym, if that's the decision, they can actually sit out here. There's going to be seating out here. This is glass, and they can still see what's going on in the gym if they want to sit outside the gym and just hang out, find a comfortable seat out there. Again, this is going to be a really, really neat facility when it's done. Locker rooms, guest rooms, team rooms, and then there are a couple of extra classrooms out on the end, one of which we're probably going to convert to a community room and a PD room for the district. We don't have a lot of space in the district to do professional development, and there are some rooms that are going to be built here on the outside of it that would give us the ability to do that. And then, of course, behind here too, there is an additional gym, an auxiliary gym, which most high schools have that. All right, so that's enough with facilities. And it's taken up a lot of our time. It's really exciting. Like I said, it's going to be a really busy summer to get to that point. When I was hired for the job, one of the first things I told the board was I was going to spend about 100 to 120 days of my first days in the district on what I called a listen and learn tour. And from that listen and learn tour, here were my 5 goals. So develop an understanding of the district, what their culture is, what the values are, what people feel is important. Establish a presence in all 3 cities, which is something that's extremely important in my position. Be visible and approachable at school events, in the community, to really take a look at what the critical issues are in the schools and the community, and to find out how they have been addressed and identify what we need to do in the future. And then to begin to develop some strategies and goals as we move forward. So I did a lot of that, and I'll show you that in a little bit when we get to what our goals were. I did that by talking to a lot of people out in the community, talking to people, talking to teachers, talking to parents, talking to administrators. And these were, again, this is not what's identified by me, but this is what identified by, and I met with students too. I actually had a day that I went and met with students. So what do people believe that are key issues facing the district? And there they are. So you talk about the report card, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. Lack of parental involvement or engagement. And I worry about when people say involvement versus engagement, because I do think we have a lot of people who are involved, but there's a difference between being involved and being engaged in our children's education. This is a big one. This is everywhere. Meeting the social and emotional needs of our students. Instruction. Our teachers want to be re-energized. They're ready. They're ready for some new things. They want follow through. If we say we're going to do something, they want us to follow through and stick with it. They want us to make sure we're addressing the needs of all students. So that's our students with special needs, our special ed students, all the way to our gifted students. And then they talked about our administrators being instructional leaders, which Mike and I come with the philosophy of our building administrators have to be instructional leaders. Where do we think that there's areas for growth? Just to be for accountability and consistency. For me, as a superintendent and any of our central office staff, is that we are communicating and that we're being transparent. We want to make sure that we're developing 21st centuries. We're 20 years in the 21st century, right? So when we see that, it's kind of scary. Developing 21st century teacher skills, we need. If we're not there, we're 20 years behind already. Just to be able to say clear direction and clear vision for the district, that's so important. Recognizing our students and staff, which we've already started to come up with some different ways to do that throughout the district, and that people believe that there's a disconnect between the middle school and the high school, and that's just a transition. And what that means more is, we've got kids who are in need that are in middle school that we know they're in need, right? And then making sure that we're passing, when they leave the middle school, we've had those talks with the high school, and that the high school knows exactly, here are the kids that need a little extra, and what we've done with them in middle school, you got to be ready for them when they get to the high school. Doing an SEL curriculum, and that's just making sure we need to do things that we know that we're meeting the needs of our kids with an SEL curriculum. So from that, we have, basically as a district team, the district executive team, we've come up with 6 different initiatives. So the first one, and these all but one, we worded a little differently. I didn't make these up. And that was the one thing when I came into the district, people asked me, what's your vision? And I said, I don't know what it is. And I can't say what it is until I've been here, because I think it was important for me to be able to get in the district, talk to people, know where we've been, know where we are before we can say where we're going. So these 5 of the 6 district initiatives come directly from the strategic plan. And the part of the strategic plan. So create an environment that's rich in technologies and identify and promote highly effective educational practices. So what are we doing already? And this is where Anna's talking about we've been busy, we have been busy. And again, it's a team that has done this. Vicki decided when she came in, one of the very first things that she needed to do is she needed to do a tech audit. And from that audit, basically these are the most important parts that have come out of that. So in information technology, we have to upgrade our fiber connections to increase our internal connectivity. So we've got, our kids have computers, but we need to make sure that they're able to use them, right? Standardize our tech equipment, and then the area of instructional technology. Again, these are just the key points. It came in a packet, how many pages? 50 pages, but I asked Vicki kind of summarize what are the big things that we need to take away from that. So utilize innovative technology based on need, aligned to our curriculum, and train and support staff in technology integration. So we don't want our kids just to have computers, we want our kids to be able to know how to use our computers, and we have to make sure our teachers are using them as a tool, not a computer isn't instruction, and a computer is just a tool that we use to enhance our teaching and learning, and that's it. Big thing that's come out of that is that Vicki has created a tech committee. That tech committee, large group, has already met once to identify some of the needs to start to create a tech plan, and she's got a bunch of ad hoc committees that are going to work on this as we move forward. So the next one is expanding our counseling services to support students and help connect families with the community resources. So this is under the area of culture and safety. This is a big one because we feel it's really important. So our governor last year, and again, this isn't in the Berea City School District, this is everywhere. Our governor last year made a commitment to school districts, not just with the money that he gave us for students, but he has committed to us, this is what we get as a district. So fiscal year 20, which is this year, Berea City School District's got $515,000 from in a wellness fund. And then next year, we're going to receive $720,000. This is money that does not go into basic operation costs. So it is money that cannot be used for salaries. It can't be used to buy buses. This money can only be spent, there's a lot of different categories for wellness. So this year already, a couple of things that we did is that we added 2 school psychs with that money. We also added 3 social workers, and we don't call them social workers in their job, but they're called student family support specialists. Those people we have 1 specialist who works with all of our elementary buildings. We have 1 who works solely with the middle school, and then we have 1 that's at the high school and unfortunately leaving us at the high school, which we hope that we're able to. She got a great job with the ESC, but hopefully we'll be able to replace that person at the high school. We are in the process of sending, how many middle school teachers? 6. We're in the process of sending 6 middle school teachers. At the high school right now we have LINK. LINK is the program that our juniors and seniors, we identify juniors and seniors who help transition 9th graders into the high school. It's leadership, right? So much about leadership, but also making our 9th graders comfortable when they go in the high school. So we recognize we have a need for that at the middle school. So WEB, it's called Where Everyone Belongs, is kind of like the sister program of LINK at the high school. So we are training 6 teachers for that right now, and then those teachers then next year will implement that program again, create student leaders in our building who will help transition kids into middle school, which we think is so important. What we're going to do next year too, because Brook Park Elementary School is going to be so big, we feel it's important that we put 1 social worker just at that building. 1,000 kids is a lot of kids. So next year we'll end up with 4 student and family support specialists in the district. We also then hope that next year that we're able to find a BCBA, which is a board certified behavior analyst. We want to make sure that our kids that have behavior problems, that we're helping to address their needs, but more importantly, we're helping our teachers to find ways to address those needs also. Our third initiative then is cultivate a cohesive district-wide community identity, Titans, that unites, inspires our students, staff, parents, and school programs. I think we've done a really good job of that so far. I said, I walk around this district, I said it was one of the first things that I did. And again, coming from, taking the 2 schools, high schools, and consolidating into one and becoming Titans, that really has stuck. And I see it stick when I go into elementary buildings and I see all those little ones with their Titan gear on, right? Everywhere I go, I see that. So I feel that we're really started, that momentum is going. One of the things that Mr. Draves, and we've got a couple other staff members that are working on right now, is we're creating what's called a culture playbook. And basically what that does, gives us articulation of what our desired culture is in the district. And it's important. So what we did is in November, December? Yeah, we created, Mike had a team that was made up of students, it was made up of teachers, it was made up of support staff, it was made up of administrators and parents. We all sat down together and we talked about what's important to us as the Berea City School District that we would want to put out there that tells people who we are, what our actions are, and how we behave, and what the outcomes of all of that are. So this is in progress right now, but the goal will be once that playbook is created, and when it's done, it's going to be rolled out to all of our administrators, it's going to be shared with our staff, it's going to be shared with our students, and it's going to be shared with our community, because it's important for us to say, this is the culture and this is who we are. Number 4 is to strengthen regular 2-way communications with the Berea City School District community, and that's under the area of communications. And this just gives you here on the left, and on the right, this is a coffee and conversation I had with students on their day off. They actually came to school, some of them at 9 o'clock in the morning on their day off. I was so impressed. But I had coffee and food for them, so I think that helped a little bit. Part of my Listen Learn tour, and again, to me, that communication, and most importantly, that 2-way communication, is to get out and to meet and to talk to people. So this is just kind of an idea of what I've done since I came in. I had meet and greets, I've been to the chamber meetings, I spent a day at the beginning of the year, took a whole day and spent at each building. Sat down in a room where teachers could come in and sit down and talk to me, so I could have that, teachers and support staff, they could come in, they could have conversations with me. One of the things that you got in the packet that was handed out to you today by the kids when you walked in was a postcard. We set up 12 different coffees throughout the year, 4 in each city. So if you're available, one of the things I hear is that I schedule these during a time where most parents can't come. And that's true. So really a conversation like that is, one, if parents can come, but 2, it's for community who really doesn't have kids in school, who might want to come in and sit with me or sit with our administrative team and have conversations. So when I go, Mike is there, Vicki is there, Lori's there, we have everybody, Jill, our treasurer, is there, everybody's there, so that if people have questions, they can come up and they can ask any of us a question. So if you want to come have coffee and talk to us, there's some dates there for that still left. We started something this year too. One of the things I heard loud and clear from the board when I came in is to make sure that we create this, we have to make sure that all 3 cities are on the same page. And I've said this a lot to city leaders, and I say this to people everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're from Brook Park, Middleburg Heights, or Berea. Where those kids come from, they're our kids, right? At the end of the day, they are our kids. They are Berea Mid-Park Middle School students. They are Berea Mid-Park High School students. So they're our kids. But one of the things that we thought was really important to do is sit down and have a conversation with the 3 cities. So we started in November. It was our first one. We called it the community collaboration meeting, and it was all of our executive team members, and then it was police chief, fire chief, we invited the mayors, and then we invited the department heads from all 3 cities. We hosted it, came in, did lunch, and then just during lunch, again, go around the table. Who are you? What do you do? What can we do to help each other? Tell you something that happened that was really neat. So from the coffee and conversation, and then the Tribe Community Collaboration meeting, it was at a coffee and conversation, a parent came in, and she's like, hey, she goes, we talk so much about our kids all being Titans. She said that, like, my kid, I can't remember which city she lived in. Maybe she lived in Brook Park. She goes, but my son, who's a high schooler, who goes to school with kids from Middleburg and Berea, if he wants to go to their rec center to hang out with them, he has to pay to go there, even though he belongs to the rec center in our city. She goes, what about creating like a Titans pass or something like that, so no matter which city you belong to, if you belong to a rec center, you could present a rec pass whether it's a Titans pass or whatever it is, and you can get into any rec center. So we were like, wow, that's a great idea. So from that then, at that collaboration meeting with the city, I shared that information with, there were a couple different city heads there, and they loved the idea. So I don't know where they are with it right now, but they loved the idea. They were going to take it back to city council in each of the 3 cities, and they were going to have a conversation about it. But it was amazing. Again, just booster groups. Mike and I had the opportunity last week to go to Brook Park at the Rec Center and had a meeting with seniors. There were about 80 seniors in the room. They weren't there for Mike and me. They were playing bingo and pizza. And we were standing in the way of bingo and pizza. But it was awesome. It was great to get out and just to meet some different groups. The 5th initiative is to review and evaluate the current condition of our instructional programs and practices. Now, let me go back here. Now that is one that's a little, we kind of changed what it is from the strategic plan. Again, similar to what Vicki did with the tech audit, we're going to be doing an instructional audit. So the report card, obviously. A couple things I want to say about the report card. That's one thing I heard about in our conversations. When Mike and I were meeting in the summer with the mayors and with some other people, people would say to us, how are you going to change that report card? You need to change that report card. I want to say something about the report card. We have no problem with accountability and being held accountable. I think what people have to remember is what goes in this report card is based on 1 single day of testing. And that's it. 1 day of testing. So our little ukulele group up here today, they did pretty good, didn't they? We're not measuring that on a report card. None of that is measured on a report card. What you got today is what's called a quality profile. And the quality profile gives you that information that we think it's important for our community to know that's beyond the report card. Not everything that goes on in this school district can be measured in that report card, and that's why we think it's important to do the quality profile to give you more of a well-rounded picture of what we do in the district. What we're going to do then is we are going to do an instructional audit, which actually we're meeting with a third party who's going to come in. And we're meeting with them on Friday, actually, to schedule. The audit's going to be done during the month of March, and then hopefully near the end of March or the beginning of April, don't know my months, the beginning of April, they're going to give us some short-term and it's the Macarena. They're going to give us some short-term and long-term goals about what we need to do to make improvements with our instructional programming. And there are 10 different components. It's going to be pretty intense. They're going to interview teachers, they're going to observe classes, they're going to send an interview out to a survey out to the community. So we're going to look for as much input and feedback as we can get so we know what we need to do to improve for instruction as we move forward. And the last thing then is to increase public awareness about our school funding challenges in the school district, encourage engagement. So Jill's going to talk a little bit about finances, and I'm going to share something too that is actually could potentially have an impact on our finances and our funding that's pretty real and prevalent in the news right now.
Hi, good evening. I'm Jill Rowe. I'm the treasurer at Berea Schools. I'm fairly new to the district also. I've been here about a year and a half now. It was interesting last year coming in and learning all about a school district of this size. I was in a smaller one previously. This is, though, however, my 14th year as being a treasurer, so it just took about a year to get up to speed and learn everything. The finances of the district, we have a quick snapshot of the 5-year forecast up here. There's all kinds of information on our webpage, on the treasurer's webpage, on the school district's website about the finances of the school district. We're very transparent about what we do, and we're very, we want to be very honest about what's going on. As you can see up here, there's a lot of red numbers. The red numbers aren't necessarily good, but we are currently working on them. The revenue line item, as you can see, our revenues are decreasing. Why is that? A couple of reasons that they're decreasing. We currently are losing tax money that was given to us years ago from inventory. The inventory of businesses, it's tangible personal property. The state took the inventory tax away, it was the car dealerships. They have to liquidate all their cars so they didn't have to pay tax on them at year end. The state took that away in 2010. They were supposed to, they're replacing it for us, but then they started taking that away also. Since then, we've lost about $10 million in that tax. That tax is set to go away completely in fiscal year 23. It's not in fiscal year 24. So since around 2010, we've lost about $10 million in that tax. Our revenues also, too, from the state of Ohio have been flatlined for the next 2 years. They're the same. Basically, the state of Ohio said, we'll give you what we gave you last year. There's no increases, no nothing. I think when Governor DeWine came in, it's to get the budget cycle done so quick in his first, 2 months in office, they just don't have time. So the governor basically froze all school districts at the level they received last year. So our state money is not growing at this time. The problem with that is Berea Schools is what's called a capped district. When the state runs their formula, and, divvies out all the money, they only have so big of a pot of money. And when they run the formula, basically, they can't fund the school districts fully, so they cap them and they say, we're only going to give you this much. Berea is one of those districts. Basically, we're on the wealthier side, so they capped us. And what that means is we're not getting all the money we deserve from the state of Ohio. Not only are we frozen, but we're not getting all the money we deserve. If they actually truly ran the formula for us, we get about $14 million from the state of Ohio. Right now, we're currently getting 10. So we've been a cap district for years. There's a number of cap districts. On the flip side, though, there's a number of districts that are being guaranteed. They've lost enrollment, they've lost students, and the state doesn't want to cut their money. So they, again, keep giving them what they gave them the previous year. So that, our revenue again is going down, and that's why it's going down. Basically, we're flatlined. Our property taxes are increasing dramatically, so we're not seeing huge raises in our property taxes either. The expenditure line on here, you can see we run about 84 million this fiscal year all the way out to the end of 91 million. Expenses increase each year. They do. Inflationary increases, salary increases, health insurance increases. That's a big part of the increase in that line is a lot of the health insurance increases. When you get down to the next line, revenue surplus or deficit, those are all red numbers. You can see that line means, are we spending more than we're taking in that year, in that current year? And basically, yes, we are. We begin, in the negative this year. And then the next line is basically our savings account. What do we have in the bank to cover? As you can see out in year 5, we are running out of cash. I always tell the administrative staff, and I always say this in speeches, the forecast is only as good as the day I do it because something always happens or there's always changes happening. This is the November forecast that I presented to the Board of Education and filed with the state of Ohio. Since then, we've gotten 2 one-time payments that have come in, one from the county auditor and one from Medicaid, that have wiped that deficit this year away. So we are going to be positive this year. We are trending positive this year. That $603,000 has been, cleared. Sorry, I'm not too sorry. So again, it's only as good as the day I do it because again, something inevitably always happens. We can, and this is just a long-range planning tool that we use to plan for the district. The next slide, our total revenue. As you can see, the majority of our revenue comes from property taxes and commercial tax. The other revenue comes from the state of Ohio, and our other revenue, 7%, which is, either tuition payments or interest, or very little of our revenue comes in as that, but the majority of our revenue is property taxes. On the flip side of our expenditures, the majority of our expenses are payroll and benefits. We are staff heavy, that's in every school district. Payroll and benefits make up about 80% of our total expenditure line item. Purchase services comes in next. Purchase services is basically any service we're purchasing, or our utilities, or tuition payments out to other districts. Then we have supplies and other. The other category is a little bit misleading in this. We do have a debt payment that comes out of the general fund. This building that we're sitting in right now was funded out of the general fund, so there is a debt payment for this building that comes out of the general fund. So that's why the other expenditures are a little higher. You would typically see those lower. We know we have some work to do with the forecast and with our, the spending, the overspending that's happening, and we're currently working on that as an administrative staff to try to prolong the money that we get from the taxpayers in the state of Ohio as long as we can. And again, there's a lot of information on our website. The forecast is on there with the assumptions. Our budget's on there, and that's got a lot of good information in it. It's kind of a long read, but our audit report's out there, so it's all listed on the website. If there are ever any questions about finances, please don't hesitate to call, to email, to ask. We want to be very transparent in what we're doing and show the finances of the school district.
All right, so again, through Listen and Learn, these are a couple of things that we know that we need to address as a district. Middle school, that's something that we have worked on. There were some heating and cooling issues that have been addressed, and we think that Rob's back there. I think they've done a great job of addressing those issues. We do believe that there needs to be a facelift to the interior of that middle school, and we're right now working on that and starting that process as we speak. Mike and I were in here in July for some days before we officially started on August 1st, and we're meeting people. And if I heard that word one more time, parking, and we know it. So we know that there are some issues with parking. Again, those are permanent improvement kinds of things that we need to look at. We need to prioritize and what it is that we need to work on. The high school will be in kind of a issue for a year, but again, we're going to work on some things that will help do that. We got to make a decision at some point of what we're going to do with Smith School. We have some roofing issues at Big Creek, at the middle school, and at Grindstone. And we're going to, I know that I got a call one day that somebody was not happy that there was a trash can in this building and that the roof was leaking, and we're aware of that. But again, we've got to prioritize what we're going to do and how we're going to fix those things. We've got some tech needs, and that came out of Vicky's tech audit. Right now, we've got to work on some staff laptops are getting older. We are going to need to do some work with our smart boards at both Big Creek and Grindstone, and then Chromebooks. So our goal is eventually to go total. We're kind of one-to-one as a district from K-12, meaning that if we had to sit all of our kids down right now and put a computer in front of them, we could do that. But we want to go true one-to-one where we can actually hand our kids a computer and they can take them home. That's our ultimate goal. And we got to talk about RAIM. The turf field at RAIM is older. It's nearing its life expectancy there, so we've got to look at what we're going to do with the turf at RAIM. And then we've had an issue because there's a roofing issue at Big Creek. We have a gym floor issue at Big Creek right now. So these are kind of the big things right now that we're looking at as a district, that permanent improvement kinds of things that we've got to work with Jill and her department on how we're going to fund those projects. One of the other things, and I'm going to flip through these slides pretty quick. If you've paid attention to the news right now, actually Senator Dolan was supposed to be here tonight, but he is in Columbus because they are hammering this out right now as we speak. I got an update today, and I'm going to be honest, right before I came over here tonight, so I haven't had time to read it all. Nothing has been solely figured out yet. But basically, if you read about this, and I don't know how many of you have, but again, this is us being transparent with you. So this forecast that Jill just showed you shows you what our forecast is without what this could be. So EdChoice, again, their scholarship program or a voucher program was a way to provide students with options in schools that are considered to be failing or underperforming. And the state has defined what that looks like. So what has happened is that program has expanded significantly because of the criteria that the state's using to identify whether a school is an EdChoice school or not. And that is a problem. So if any of you know about Solon City Schools, Solon City Schools, when they rank schools, because that's what they're doing with the report card, that's not what they're supposed to be doing with the report card, but when they rank schools, Solon City Schools is the highest performing school district in the state of Ohio. They now have a school that's an EdChoice. They have a school that the state has deemed is failing, but that school is an A school. I could go on, I'm not going to. So, what the state does then, if they have said that your school, if a school in your district is an EdChoice school, that students that are in that school are eligible for a voucher to take money from our district and go now to a private school and attend school with your public tax dollar money. It is a huge issue. And the state doesn't pay for that, we pay for that. So state of Ohio went from fewer than 300 school buildings in 1819 who were identified as EdChoice schools to more than 1,200 buildings in 2021. That's a problem. What this has allowed them to do, you could have a student who is in kindergarten. Well, let me go to the next slide, actually. Why does this matter? Maybe I should put that first. Why does this matter? We have a school in the Berea City School District that is now designated as an underperforming school, and that is Brook Park Memorial. What's sad about that statement, underperforming school or a failing school, is that building grade for Brook Park Memorial is a C. I don't know about you, but C is not failing to me. But their criteria, what puts them in as an EdChoice school, deems them to be an underperforming school. That means, which was actually February 1st, but they've pushed the date back. As of February 1st, an application process would have started that any student at Brook Park Memorial who either is attending there or who has never attended there could fill out an application and be eligible for a voucher to take that voucher to pay for private schooling of our tax dollar money. And even more so is that student could have never been in the school, and that student could never ever attend Berea City Schools, and we could pay a voucher for that student every year from kindergarten till the time they graduate from high school, which we have figured it's about roughly $60,000 a student that a student can take from our public school tax dollars to pay for a private school. What the problem next year is that we've contacted the state and asked the state, so our school district have IRN numbers, and so we're like, well, we need the IRN number for our new elementary school. The state has told us, so Brook Park Memorial has been deemed a failing school. The IRN for the new building will be Brook Park's IRN, which means every student in that new building now is eligible for an EdChoice voucher. So if they went to Brookview, which is not a failing school by the state, all of those students now who are in our new building will be eligible for a voucher if this does not change. And again, when Jill, we have no idea. So the board asked us, tell us what this is going to cost us. We have no idea. So you have to remember, when a private school student goes to a private school, they're not enrolled in our school district. So we don't know who those kids are. Well, we've asked the diocese, we don't know if we're going to get that information or not. The other thing about that is that we don't even receive foundation formula funding for those kids because we don't get to count those students in our ADM count. We get money based on how many students attend our schools, but if they're in a private school, we don't get money from the state for those schools. So our taxpayers are paying that full voucher on their own. So that's why I said Senator Dolan was supposed to be here today, because he's advocating for this, and a bill that he is proposing would take BPM off of that list. So they have pushed the enrollment date now back until April, so that the legislators are going to have time to fix this, we hope. We are pushing as educators in public schools to our parents in our community who are passing levies to fund public schools should not be paying for private school educations. So there's a lot going on about that right now. So what I ask, and this will be up, I've sent emails to senators, to the representatives of the House. These are our local representatives. So if you need any information, there's a ton of information on the Ohio Department of Education website about vouchers. We are asking everyone to reach out to them to tell them that this is wrong, that this cannot happen. So if you do it, send it to your friend, ask your friend to do it, copy and paste the same message, whatever it is. But they have actually asked, I was at a meeting yesterday down in Columbus, and some of the legislators told an attorney for the superintendent's organization that I'm with, they've told him, like, you need to call off the dogs. And our attorney told him, we're not calling off the dogs until you fix this. So we're going to ask as many people as you can, get out there. It's wrong. We need to have this fixed.
Tracy,
Yes?
is there a template that people can use, like a form letter that they can type?
No, well, no, we don't have one. I mean, there's, again, if you go on the website, well, there really isn't. I mean, we've just said, I mean, I would as a taxpayer, just to say, you know, that your taxpayer money that you have agreed to pass a levy on to go to the public school is going to a private school, and that can't happen. But I could probably create something and put something out there. If people want more information about that, we can do that.
So even our PTAs work on that?
Absolutely. And you know what? That's a great idea. Maybe what I'll do is get something out to the PTAs, and you guys can send that information out. So right now, that's what I said about Senator Dolan. He's not here tonight because they're down there working on it right now. So hopefully we'll have an answer sooner rather than later. Everything that we have seen, though, part of the voucher program is that there is, if you're 200% below the poverty level, that money is paid for by the state. So we're saying if you're going to pay for this, the other thing that you have to realize too is private schools are not regulated by the state or the Ohio Department of Education at all. At all. So we've got all the regulations. We have to follow everything that the state does, but private schools, they are not regulated by the state at all. So, all right, so the last thing, again, one of the things, this is just a night, obviously I could probably go on and on, none of you want me to do that. But the one way we feel it's really important, again, to me, two-way communication is important. So I'm still going to be out there. All of our team is still going to be out there as much as we can. But we ask you to follow us. We feel it's very, very important that we are telling our story all the time. And we have a lot of great stories. Unfortunately, what hits the news? Everything's bad going on in our district, right? Obviously, I came into the district in a tough situation, and I am making it my mission to make sure that we are on social media as much as we can, spreading all of the good stories that are going on in our district. So if you don't follow us, we hope that you do, and that obviously if there's anything that you need to share with us, let us know. So also in your packet tonight that you got, there's a postcard in there. And if you want to, give us your name, give us your phone number, give us your email address. If there are questions that you have that I can send you a response to or call you, you can leave that with us tonight. And then also give a couple minutes then to ask a couple of questions. Yes?
Okay, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
I understood that the Ohio Supreme Court said that this business about property taxes paying for the schools is not legal.
It's
And yet the
unconstitutional.
state- Unconstitutional. And yet the state of Ohio, as I understand it, continues to do this. Am I correct?
You are 100% correct.
This does not bother you?
We can't do anything about it. Yes, they've deemed that to be
And
unconstitutional
there's
for
nothing we
years.
can do about it as voters.
Well, so there is a proposal right now, and again, it's Cupp-Patterson or the House or Senate, the House of Representatives, or last name's Cupp-Patterson. They have a formula that they think that they can fix the issue of school funding. So stay tuned.
Okay, thank
Because
you.
it's been that way for a long time, and obviously nothing has been done about it. So you're 100% correct.
Thank you.
Yes. Anybody else have any questions? Yes.
You said the earliest the high school was going to be demolished would be spring of next year, 2021.
No, it will come down before that.
And so if that's the case, are you guys doing the tours over this summer?
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. As soon as we have finalized dates, so we had, as a team, sat down and done some tentative dates, but because the elementary got pushed back a little bit, and then because we're still waiting to see what happens with the competition gym and the auxiliary gym at the high school, we're not ready to put those out yet. But I would say by the end of February, we will put all of that information out.
Okay.
Okay?
And the last thing, they had talked about putting a track around the ring sports complex. Is that still going to happen?
Not that I know of. So if that was something somebody talked about, I haven't heard about that. So right now then, I would say no. Yes. Any other questions? Yes.
The new buildings look beautiful, and I love all the open concepts. One quick question though is, how fast do those garage doors come down? Like in case of an active shooter or
Yeah.
you need to lock down quickly?
Yes.
How quickly can all of that be closed down and students in safety?
So I personally have not seen how fast they come down, so I can't answer that question for you. They're in, but they're not hooked up to the electric yet. So I will find that out. And then what we'll do as those get hooked up, we'll be sure to take video of that and put that out for people to see. But the other thing is about safety and security too, is that, so for example, in each of these buildings, so before you go down those big open hallways, there are doors. But if something were to happen like in the main, in a part of the building, doors can be shut and locked to block off that whole hallway. Does that make sense? So that is a feature that's built in for safety and security.
I'm just a word word.
Yeah. Well, we are too, and again, so one of the things that Mike has done a great job of working with so our police and fire have like full reign of the buildings. We tell them all the time, go in. So they have been in. They're working through different things. They're already starting to ask the questions. Mike works with them on the safety and security committee to be able to address those. We're ready to go when the kids come in. Yes. But it's a great question. And I apologize, I don't have the answer to that, but once we see them working, we'll let you know. There's also the emergency pull on it, right? So just like on your garage door at home, so if that door needs to come down quicker than just hitting the button, there is the emergency pull that door can go down faster. Yes. Yes.
Have you been invited to the different chambers in the area?
I have.
Every one of them?
Every one of them.
I bet you weren't mine.
Did you invite me?
No, she wasn't. And I cried because you weren't there.
Oh, don't do that. I don't want you to
But just so you know, Middleborough Heights Chamber's meeting is tomorrow,
What time?
11:30.
I have another meeting at 11:30. So
At
reach
one
out to my secretary and we'll definitely get
And
there.
at one point, if it's not this time, I think it's very important that you be there.
You're there tomorrow.
At Middleburg?
That's the state of the.
Oh, is that the state of healthcare?
No.
Oh, no. Is it? That's where I'm going tomorrow.
That's where you were?
Tomorrow I'm going to the state of the healthcare presentation.
Okay.
So
You can only be one place doing one thing at a time.
trust me, I know that. I've learned that one really quick.
Remember that.
And I have to make sure I'm going to the right place. I didn't do that today, so. Any other questions? Yes?
Just want to comment, because you didn't mention us here, but my group really appreciated your taking the time. Mrs. Wheeler has reached out to the 2 alumni groups, and we're very happy with the discourse that we had. And thank you very much.
Yeah, and they've been great. So we worked with, and Mike has helped orchestrate that too. And there's a lot of work that we're going to do on preserving the history of Mid-Park and Berea as we transition into the new high school. So the alumni associations have been awesome with that. So thank you, Dennis. Anybody else? Yes?
Do you have a registration date for new students?
We are approaching that very quickly.
Okay, so there's not unofficial.
For kindergarten and preschool, I think we're looking probably towards the end. I'm going to say this, the end of February.
Okay.
Yes, but there's a few things that we're working out. One of the things we heard loud and clear from parents is they hate updating the student information form on Infinite Campus and then filling out final forms. We're getting rid of final forms and just going to Infinite Campus. So there's some tweaks that we need to make to that. Before we can open up registration. So that's what the delay for that is. So, but we're making it easier that people, yeah, look at her, she's like, so we're gonna fix that. So, anything else? All right, I appreciate, if anybody wants to stay, I'll stay a couple minutes later, but I appreciate you being here tonight and showing your support for the school district. Thank you.